Hi, I'm Erin Barcy. I'm a neighbor in the Bates-Hendricks neighborhood. I lead our beautification, neighborhood cleanups, and help organize our community garden.
And I'm Sophie Lindley, and I'm also a Bates-Hendricks neighbor. I've lived in the neighborhood for going on 4 years, and I'm really just a community member that enjoys volunteering and getting involved.
So a little bit of history about the garden was, it's been part of the neighborhood for the last 10 years and has gone through several different lives throughout those years. Southeast Neighborhood Development, SEND, owns the lot. And Sophie had reached out, and a couple other neighbors had reached out about wanting to start a community garden again and bring it back after COVID had kind of stopped the volunteering of the community garden. And so Sophie reached out. She had expressed that she was really interested in getting this going. I was too. And so working with SEND helped us bring this into the neighborhood and bring it back to life. I lead the beautification for our Bates-Hendricks neighborhood. And so being able to collaborate with our neighborhood, with SEND and a couple other organizations has really helped us gain traction and momentum with the neighborhood and donating produce back to our schools and local community.
I think when I first think about like a community garden, the importance of it, the things that come to mind are just like educating neighbors about what it is, like what it looks like to grow our own food and like being a part of that, but also taking that knowledge home to their own gardens and houses and being able to kind of explore with that and definitely like teach their kids about that if they have kids. So that's like really exciting to me, just to kind of have an avenue for our neighborhood to learn about gardening and learn about where our food comes from. Another really cool thing is obviously like, what do you do with the produce? How do you use the produce for good? And I think honestly, we've talked about like, there's so many things that we can do with it. So we've kind of been in exploratory phase of that, of trying to figure it out. So we've given the produce away just to neighbors, either by setting it out in front of the garden or by setting it at neighborhood meetings or things like that. We're starting to work with the school across the street, James Garfield School, and we're gonna plan to be out there on Mondays at pickup to give the produce that we have away to the families that might be interested in it, which I think is an exciting way, because just by coincidence, there's a school right across the street. And so that's an exciting way to just kind of bring kids into that. What a cool way to just expand their knowledge and expand their excitement around food. So yeah, those are some of the goals that we're thinking about.
And also be able to bring in other neighbors who haven't gone and involved in the neighborhood through either just education, physical activity, learning about growing produce on their own, and meeting new neighbors and just having that social aspect has helped a lot of neighbors meet other neighbors, but also help their mental health and get out and get into the sun, get a little bit of activity. That's a huge benefit for a lot of our neighbors who may feel like they don't know the people next door to them, and this is a great centralized location for them to be meeting at and collaborate and talk and just chat and get to know each other. This is our neighbor Jenny, and volunteer. She's helped out at our garden a lot and has been throughout all different phases and growing seasons this year.
So what we really enjoy about the garden is the sense of community it's really building in our neighborhood. It gives us an opportunity to come out and hang out with our neighbors, garden. And then for me, I'm kind of a novice gardener, so I've really learned a lot. Stuff that maybe I can't grow in my own garden, I get to grow here and learn about. So it's both community and learning for us.
This is our neighbor Zach. He's a community leader. He has been involved in the neighborhood for a couple of years now and has been an active participant in the garden. Do you want to talk a little bit about your experience here working in our community garden and just as a visitor and a volunteer?
Yeah, sure. So we moved into the neighborhood in 2020. Really wish we had this active community garden then. It would have been great. But in the last year, really getting the garden up and running, we've loved just to kind of see how it's evolved and grown. My wife in particular has gotten really into, coming over and helping out. And and we also have a 3-year-old and a 5-year-old that love coming over and snacking on snap peas and just kind of enjoying the vibes. And we actually just a couple nights ago, we made some fresh pesto and with basil from the garden, and we use tomatoes for the pasta. It's delicious, and it's so wonderful just to have fresh food right here grown in the community.
Awesome, thank you.
This year, it's kind of been like Aaron and I kind of thinking of the projects and then bringing other neighbors in to like execute those projects as far as just like maintenance and things like that, which I think we want to maintain that in parts of the garden, but right now we're not really utilizing the full garden because some of it's just grass. So we think that in the future we can maybe expand the growing capacity and still have some of it kind of like managed by the neighborhood at large, like all the neighbors. But then also some neighbors have expressed excitement or interest in maybe renting out one of the beds and kind of having that be like their personal family bed. So that's kind of a future idea that we have. And yeah, it's been cool to just learn how other community gardens run and try to adopt the practices that we think would work in our neighborhood.